Thank you very much, Chairperson Silverman, and thank you for calling this hearing on the ANC boundaries. First thing I'd like to do is thank the Ward 3 Redistricting Task Force for the extraordinary effort they spent, largely thankless task they had of drawing a new ANC map for the ward. The process required months of effort, many long meetings that ran late into the night, and balancing the needs of dozens of interested parties. So thank you to the task force members for their time and effort. Now, the nature of map drawing is such that no map can make everybody happy. Although not everyone would draw the lines exactly the same way, the proposal put forth by the task force is, I believe, a sound and laudable effort. It flowed from sound guiding principles that ANCs should be organized around centers of gravity, that a single ANC should encompass both sides of such a center of gravity, in particular around commercial areas, because residents on every side would want to weigh in on issues. Also, that boundaries should not split census blocks, and that ANCs should be closer in size than they currently are. I want to highlight in particular that last point about size. When the ANC and SMD boundaries were redrawn in the 2000 census, ANC sizes varied substantially, with two ANCs, ANC 3C and 3D, almost double the size of the smallest ANC. The 2012 redrawing exacerbated that problem, with ANC 3D growing to 10 SMDs, fully double the size of the smallest ANC, and ANC 3C staying at 9 SMDs. These size differentials have real implications as ANCs are funded based on size. The current task force proposal remedies what has been a growing problem of disproportionate ANC sizes. In its final report, the task force proposes ANCs with 7 plus or minus 1 SMD. So around 7 plus or minus 1 SMD. I am aware that there's a competing map being circulated from a group called Neighborhood Voice. I applaud them for their significant effort, but I do not agree with their proposal for several reasons. First, the Neighborhood Voice proposal perpetuates the exaggerated size discrepancies among the ANCs. On the one end, their proposal would constitute both ANC 3B and the new ANC 3A with only 5 SMDs, and ANC 3C would continue with 9. Second, the Neighborhood Voice proposal criticizes the task force for splitting up the Cleveland Park Historic District. As ANC boundaries are currently drawn, that historic district is already divided between ANCs, and that hasn't presented a problem. More generally, I take exception to the notion that lines of other entities, whether they be historic districts, neighborhood associations, Main Street programs, and the like, are dispositive to ANC and SMD boundaries. The driver of SMD boundaries must be population. The same is not true of any of these other organizations. What's more, these organizations have different functions, and none of those functions are compromised by ANC boundaries. Finally, I want to note that the concerns of the Neighborhood Voice Group and many others were presented to the task force and were substantially debated. Indeed, several recommendations made by the Neighborhood Voice Group were adopted by the task force. The task force ultimate recommendation flows from very clear priorities and policy decisions in a manner that respects the law, and I do not support setting its recommendation aside. With that said, there's only one small amendment I would make to the task force proposed map. Many residents of the Woodland Normanstone neighborhood testified asking for an exceedingly small change to the map so that their neighborhood is encompassed within a single SMD and ANC. It's my understanding that the division of Woodland Normanstone across 2 ANCs was unintentional and resulted from their lack of engagement earlier in the process. This is different from the changes requested by others, including Neighborhood Voice, which stem from policy disagreements and which were aired in discussions at the task force. I'm prepared to help resolve something that was not previously considered. I am not prepared to replace one policy decision with another.
We'll come out to keep you from coming in.
Right.
Mr. Johnson, this is the Ward 3 panel. Sorry, Councilmember Cheh.
My office will continue to work with the task force and the subcommittee to develop a minor adjustment that can be effectuated with minimal disruption to the task force proposal. And with that small change, involving Woodland Normanstone. I believe the proposed map should be approved by the subcommittee. So thanks again to the task force and all the witnesses who are here today, and I look forward to hearing the testimony. Thank you.